Hello and welcome to another Drive-In Double Feature. I'm Ryan.
I'm Nathan.
And this is the podcast where we talk about two movies every week, every Tuesday and Thursday. But before we get into the movie, we have a Patreon. Over on patreon.com/drive-in-double-feature-podcast. Nathan and I playing a couple of games, having some off-the-cuff conversations. And we just want to offer our thanks to anybody that does support us over there. If you feel like it, feel free to do so. Drop a couple of bucks there. Doesn't affect any regular content. Anyway, the movie we are talking about today, Nathan, is 1988's Mac and Me, directed by Stuart Raffel.
Yeah, I love his. If you look him up on Wikipedia, he has a great Wikipedia picture, just like blurry, kind of far away. It shows you the quality of this director to be remembered.
Yeah, and oh boy, this is a very infamous movie, would you say?
Yeah, it's probably the most popular so bad it's good movie that we're covering on the show because it has that reputation. It's like a cult classic, just awful movie.
Would you say this is so bad it's good?
No, I think this is so bad it's not good in any shape or form, but people watch this a lot from what you know what I mean? Like, it's like one of those popular, like, let's turn on a bad movie kind of deal.
This movie's horrible. It's really bad.
It really is, like, just awful. If we had not watched Wired, or I think ranking, Jesus Bro and Wired are worse, but this is very close to Jesus Bro. Like, awful stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like, those two are just like miserable experiences, and this is pretty up there because there's so much to talk about of why I didn't like this movie. I mean, there's just like the character designs of these aliens look horrific. Like, I don't like, and it's supposed to be like this really cute sentimental type, and I'm like, no, it's not. They look awful. They look like horrible monsters, and they look like giant naked people.
They look like sex dolls is what they look like. They have like weird open mouths, and oh the god, they're gross. It's like the grossest form of E.T. Like, he's like ugly, but like kind of cute too. This is just like ugly.
And I think that's kind of the important. He like E.T. like kind of looks like vaguely human. He's got like human-like features, but his anatomy is not exactly like a human. But this one, these other creatures, I mean, their torsos, lower half, and legs and limbs, other than their like their hands and fingers and stuff, all look very human. And they're completely naked, so it just looks like you said, sex dolls, and it looks horrible. And I don't know why anybody would look at that and say, yeah, that's a great idea, let's put that in our movie.
Yeah, right. And this movie had to go through a whole bunch of people, because here's the thing, this movie, if it were made for cheaper, like let's say it was like a straight to VHS, like little garbage movie, I wouldn't be as harsh on it. But this movie, you can tell the production value's there. It looks nice, it's shot really well. They got a couple, actual like actors in this, and it just feels soulless at the end of the day. That's what it feels like. And I mean, if you don't know anything about Mac and Me, it's an E.T. ripoff. It's a complete like E.T. ripoff, made 6 years later. I guess that shows the power of E.T. But it just feels like a soulless version of that movie. That's really what it is.
And I don't know why, but this whole time I kept thinking, a Big Mac sounds great right now.
Yeah, I went to the store and grabbed me a Coke, and it just brought me back to life, right?
That was the one big thing about this movie. It's funded by McDonald's, Coca-Cola, and Skittles.
Yes, yeah, and they are not afraid to show it. Oh my God. I've heard that the product placement in this was bad, but this is bad. I didn't realize it.
It's really bad. Like, there's one character in this movie who she's like the main boy's best friend's older sister, and her sole purpose is to just stand there in a McDonald's uniform.
The whole movie, like almost the whole movie, she's wearing the little arches and she works at the McDonald's, and she doesn't look like she wants to die when she works there.
I was going to say that. I was like, I think they did that like to be like, you see, guys, there's hot babes that work at McDonald's.
You're right. Yeah, because the main dude, well, not the main dude, but his older brother gets the McDonald's worker at the end of, or like towards the middle of the movie, honestly. So I think so. Well, when we got into product placement, it made me think about it. What is your opinion on product placement in movies? Because I know some people can't stand it at all.
There are certain times where when it adds like that real world effectiveness, like to me it gets a little jarring sometimes. Like if I see like somebody grabbing like, oh, let me have my fizzy drink over here, and it's like this really obnoxious, like it doesn't even look like Coke, but it's like Coke like or something.
Yeah.
Like that to me is super distracting. And
No, I agree.
But and if somebody's just casually drinking a Coke, I mean, you could drink a Coke and like you don't have to show the label, but you can just like maybe casually see it. Like that to me is just like, oh, this is the real world. Mm-hmm. That to me is not distracting, but there's some where it's just like they have to like pause to do like an ad break. And there was one where Transformers Age of Extinction, I remember, where there was like a Bud Light truck or something like that crashed. And like Mark Wahlberg like takes a break and like picks up on the Bud Lights and just like starts drinking it. Just like, yeah, that's great.
Yeah. No, there's always like dumb stuff like that in movies. I think it's the Brian De Palma Mars movie. They solve one of the main critical issues in the movies through M&Ms. It's like he sees if they float or something. It's been a while, but it's like, sometimes it's fine. Like I think of Book of Eli, which I guess I don't think about a lot, but when he's out in the apocalyptic world and you see like a truck broken down and it has a Bud Light ad on it, I'm not too offended. It's kind of like, oh, the real world's gone and died. But exactly, there's times where it's over, like it's way too much. And Mac and Me is like the prime example of that.
One example where I think it's kind of funny is in the movie Demolition Man, where every restaurant is now a Taco Bell.
I like that bit. It's like a funny joke.
Yeah, that to me is funny.
Yeah. But I mean, here I would say it's funny because this McDonald's, okay, would you go to a McDonald's? Would you pull into the parking lot if there was just a giant group of people dancing in front of the McDonald's?
I was going to ask you that same question.
Okay.
Gotcha. Like in the parking lot, or like I walk into the building and I see them dancing?
Is there a different answer for both?
Yeah, well, I mean, if I don't see them in the parking lot, I mean, I would park my car.
That's
I'd go
true.
in there.
Yeah.
And I would have to make probably a decision in the moment if I wanted to try to, how bad I really wanted that McDonald's. But I would probably leave because I've left places for less than that.
Yeah, same.
And so I don't think, and I mean, I would think there would be like a McDonald's maybe down the street, another one.
Yeah, like one that's just like, not as crowded, not as many people dancing in it. It's so funny. Like they make McDonald's look like heaven almost.
Oh yeah, it's so ideal. I was going to say though, like imagine you're sitting there like eating your food and then a dance thing broke out like while you're eating. What would you do then? Like you got your food, it's half eaten. I mean, you don't have a to-go bag with you.
Yeah, I know. I guess I'd have to watch. What a wild scene. I think I'd be too scared to move, because Mac in the scene is in a teddy bear costume and he's dancing on the counter of the McDonald's doing a jig in front of everybody. I'd be scared if I saw this.
A giant teddy bear, and they kept saying like, "Oh, don't worry, he just needs his microchips replaced or whatever."
Yeah. I guess they're. Oh my God, this thing is creepy. His eyes are cut out so Mac can see, and Mac has stretchy limbs, and like he steals a kid's like shake at one point through the teddy bear costume. God.
There's so much to unpack here. Like I don't even know where to start really.
I don't either. No, it's like the most dense bad movie I've ever seen. It's full of so many bad things.
And if it sounds like they're like, oh yeah, this sounds really entertaining, I should check this out. It's really not. It's not. No. I mean, like those scenes, you're more confused and like, why would they do this? And then the rest of the movie is just honestly like really boring. Like like the parts where there isn't like any crazy stuff happening.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think this movie is just actually like really boring. Like that McDonald's scene is like the real standout in everything. Otherwise, there's like chases or like it's just like, oh, we need to find him a home. There's random glimpses of funny, and it's not intentional, of course.
No,
Yeah.
and they go for really super slapstick sometimes too, where it's like
Mhm.
Mac is grabbing an electric fence and he gets all stretchy and like all crazy
Mhm.
looking, which is stupid. And then he like slams against a windshield and he looks like a flat pancake. It's
Yeah. I hate Mac. I'm sorry to say it, but I hate him. He just
I
whistles. Can't even learn to speak. Come on.
I thought the sentimentality that this movie tried to add in here was so unearned
Really,
that
honestly is.
like the Mac just shows up and just wrecks this kid's life, like just
Hmm.
and doesn't do anything like good. Like E.T. I mean, so you watched it more recently than I have,
Yeah,
E.T. And
I watched it the same day I watched this right after, and I thought it was a boring movie before. I loved it this time, and I don't know if it's because I just watched Mac and Me or what, but
you'll have to wait next year and watch it and see if there's any different.
yeah, exactly.
But I like ET like goes in there and like enriches these kids' lives and like
Hmm.
helps them helps them out for the better, like actually becomes like their friend and does all these super amazing things. And like this alien just goes in and just wrecks stuff like all the time.
Yeah, yeah. No, when I watched ET kind of, he makes a little mess in the kid's room, but Mac literally like destroys their living room, like puts grass in there, a really nice painting gets wrecked. He makes it look like the outdoors, and for no reason.
So that scene was insane because
Yeah.
Mac wrecks the living room like you said.
Hmm.
And that one thing we didn't say, I don't know if we did, but the main character of this story is a little boy in a wheelchair.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
and so his mother walks in and she assumes this little boy in a wheelchair like did all of this to their house.
Yeah.
Like I was like, and maybe this kid like giving this kid like a ton of credit, but oh my God, she's blaming a little boy in a wheelchair for wrecking an entire house.
Yeah, this happens multiple times because they try to suck up Mac with a vacuum and it like causes a power surge. And she comes in and starts like yelling at him and he isn't even in his wheelchair. He's on the ground and he's like, what did you do here? And it's like, dude, like, come on, at least get the kid his wheelchair back. And
I
this,
know.
yeah, and this kid really was in a wheelchair. I guess he had spina bifida in real life. And I guess he was from what I was reading, it sounded like they were a little unsafe with him in his wheelchair.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he was talking about how hard it is to do stunts in wheelchairs and stuff like that.
A
And
stunt.
yeah, and I can only imagine because it's like something about speed and stuff, but it's very interesting, especially one of the most famous scenes in this movie.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
The
where
most infamous scene in this whole movie.
his brake breaks off and he goes flying into water off of like a giant cliff.
You see, I mean, obviously it's a dummy in a wheelchair,
Yeah,
but it's so shocking to see like a little boy in a wheelchair just falling off of a cliff into water.
it is. It's really funny, but in like the worst way possible. And it goes on for a while because he's like drowning because he can't swim, and like his next door neighbor, she's just like, oh my God, I can't believe this, not doing anything. Mac's kind of watching too, like, should I do something? Should I help this kid?
Yeah,
It takes way too long.
Mac contemplates about letting this kid drown, and like this kid is just like, oh my God, and it goes underneath the water, and finally Mac's like, I guess I better save him.
Hmm.
So
What a garbage little alien.
I know it. So I mean, there's a lot of other stuff that happens, but I think another like very shocking scene is towards the end of the movie. So Matt gets separated from his family because, they land on Earth and they get separated, and his whole family, like his dad, his mom, and his sister, like out in the desert, like dying, and
Yeah.
that's all you see. And they finally catch up to them. They find them, and they're just dead in a cave. Like their eyes are
Yeah.
like wide open, and they're just like lying there lifeless.
Yeah, it's really like awful to look at. Like, I mean, I think they're trying to go for the thing when E.T. dies in the movie, but like we followed that character, and like we just saw these guys slowly dying the whole movie. They're dead. I'm not really sad, but also I don't want to look at these things dead. That would definitely mess up a kid if they saw it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And you know what brings them back? This is even worse. Coca-Cola brings them back to life. And I hate that. Someone at Coke was like, yeah, make sure that they come back to life through the power of Coke.
It is so bad. I was sitting there drinking my Diet Coke furious.
You were angry. You're about to throw it in the trash. I'm drinking, like I said during the movie, I'm drinking a Pepsi out of spite. I'm a Pepsi person now. Pepsi gods would never, ever make the claim that it would save lives.
Well, Nathan, don't you remember the movie World War Z when Brad Pitt was sitting there drinking a Pepsi?
Yes, that is true. Never mind. I'm a water man now. There's no water or RC Cola. RC Cola never did anything wrong.
I think they're
Except
in
in
a Monkees
Shawshank.
movie.
Oh, then a Monkeys movie. I think it's in Shawshank Redemption as well. So
Yeah, they blow up an RC Cola machine. Anyway,
is no soda sacred?
I think every soda's been in at least one movie at some point, probably.
Probably.
But so anyway, they finally rescue the family, and then they go to like the supermarket, and it's this really intense scene, like where it's like a standoff where like this guy, like a security guard, is like threatening to shoot the aliens.
Yeah.
And the alien takes the gun from the security guard and like is like waving the gun around.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. The way I felt during this scene, I don't think I've ever felt this way during a movie. It made me feel like uncomfortable and angry all at the same time. Like it, because like I don't know what they're trying to get at. Why is this big alien we're supposed to care for holding a gun and he's being held at gunpoint by cops? And it's just like really, I hated that scene. And I guess there was a scene where someone gets shot and they cut that out of the movie, right?
Okay. Well, I was going to bring this up later. So,
okay, yeah. That is maybe like one of the worst things I've ever seen. Like, okay, so like to explain it, the kid in the wheelchair is rolling up, gets shot in the chest, and then you see his
by a police officer.
Yeah, by a police officer. And then you see his lifeless body. It is like, because not lifeless, but you see like a dummy of him like laid back in front of the explosion.
Well, that's so how they did it. And so this was the Japanese cut of the movie from what I showed you. And in the American edition, all it is it shows Eric rolling forward, and then one of the police officers shoots one of the gas pumps at the grocery store or whatever, and then there's this big giant explosion. And in the American version, it shows like the shadowy figure of Eric like leaning backwards, like it was supposed to be like the explosion killed him.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Because and then it was supposed to imply that, but really it was he got shot. And so in the Japanese version, like as Eric is laying there, in the American version, they like all get around and start like praying over his body, and you think like the aliens do like some type of healing magic on him or whatever, and it makes it come back to life.
Mm-hmm.
But in the Japanese version, the father alien like reaches in and pulls out the bullet from Eric with his bare fingers, like reaches and like flicks the bullet.
Like some kind of medic? What the hell? That is so weird.
Yeah, just imagine an alien, like his big giant sausage fingers, like going to your gunshot wound, just pulling it out.
Who thought this was a good idea? Holy!
Well, I guess Japan. I guess Japan did.
I guess Japan was like perfect for the children. um, yeah, there's something about that that's just like, what were they thinking is the correct question on this whole deal? Because like they filmed this originally and they meant for it. And from what I read, test audiences didn't like it. And it makes complete sense that test audiences did not like it.
You mean they didn't like seeing a little boy in a wheelchair get shot?
Like literally, oh my God. You usually don't see kids die in movies in general, let alone like children's movies.
It's very shocking, that scene.
Yeah.
I mean, I just go watch it on YouTube. Eric gets shot or just Mac and Me gunshot or whatever. And that's the scene right there. And it's crazy that somebody thought that was a good enough idea to put in the movie. But so at the end, they do like the whole, like Eric comes back to life and everyone's really happy. And the aliens become legal American citizens.
What an ending to the movie.
And I don't know what's more. I was just equally as disturbed with them wearing clothes.
Yeah, and then he has like a older sister or younger sister, and she's wearing like a bow on her head.
Well, so they're like, the judge is like, you are now all American citizens or whatever, and then like Eric's family like starts kissing the aliens, like
yes,
like the little girl kisses the dad alien, and then like Eric kisses Mac, and then Eric's brother kisses the little girl alien, and just
oh my God. Yeah, that is like in somebody's like worst nightmare. That scene.
And at the end too, they all get in the car and drive off, and these cocky son of a guns at the end of this movie was so sure that this movie was going to have a sequel that they put in "We'll be back" at the end.
Yeah, that's like almost always like a death sentence, like what we talked about with movie titles saying the first movie, putting like at the end "We'll be back" in your first movie. That's like such a bad gamble.
Because I just knew like they were so sure that this was going to be a big hit.
They were like, E.T. was a success. We got it in the bag. We're going to just do it again. Little cute alien. It's going to be everywhere. And no, it was a box office bomb for good reason. And I don't know how. Ronald McDonald in his first starring role, a feature film role, is in this. And he's incredible. I
sent you the video of Ronald McDonald taking you behind the scenes. It's something.
Yeah, honestly, it is. It's kind of funny. He would later go on to win a Razzie for Worst New Performer.
Makeup, me?
Who, me? Do I need makeup? The most obvious joke.
He's only in the movie for like 30 seconds.
Yeah, he's barely in it. And he's just like, oh, nice bear, right? Something really stupid.
Does a magic trick. Yep.
In that McDonald's. That's the scene. That's the big takeaway scene for me. It's just the chaos of that McDonald's.
Did you notice? I sent you, there is one very famous person. Well, there's actually two famous people in that McDonald's dance scene. Yes. Did you ever figure out who that famous person was? I sent you a picture of.
I know there's one famous person in it. It didn't really look like her, though. Jennifer Aniston is in this, but that's not
that was her.
Oh, that was her? Holy crap. Yeah, Jennifer Aniston is a dancer in this movie.
Yep. And the other one is Nikki Cox from Unhappily Ever After.
Okay.
So
interesting.
Yeah, I just thought it was funny. Just Jennifer Aniston just hanging out, watching people dance at a McDonald's.
Has Jennifer Aniston ever been asked about this movie, or does she like keep it buried?
I don't know. I know like when she, like one of her first starring roles was Leprechaun, and she does not like talking about Leprechaun.
Yeah, that's probably a movie you don't want to bring up to her.
Just like Renee Zellweger and Matthew McConaughey do not want to talk about Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Well, didn't they take that movie to court to try to keep it buried or something? Like Yeah, I mean, there's some actors, you just can't. It's funny, I met Bruce Campbell in real life, and I asked him about Maniac Cop, and he didn't really give a favorable answer about Maniac
Oh
Cop.
no.
And I looked it up, and that he hates that movie, and he hates that he worked on that movie, which is funny for Bruce Campbell. So I guess you learn your lesson. Look up an actor's least favorite movies before you go asking them questions.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So this movie did nothing to help her career. She didn't become famous for another 6 years. So
Yeah.
it wasn't the big career launcher.
No, but luckily she did get her career launcher eventually. If you knew that. I don't know if you know who Jennifer Aniston is. More of a small-time little actress.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Famous Netflix star.
Yeah, exactly. But Mac and Me, not good, right?
No, actively avoid it.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. I would look up a clip. I'm sure there's a nice clip show on YouTube of the funny scenes, and don't put yourself through the whole movie because it's just not worth it.
No, and it's, as I said, this is up there as one of the worst movies that we've covered.
It is. Yeah, it is one of the worst. Unfortunately, I can't go out proclaiming this is the worst because Wired, unfortunately, is just, not a lot can beat that.
I was going to say the same thing. Not a lot is going to be able to beat that. Wired is just actively offensive, or it's just pissing on a dead man's grave. So.
Yeah, but Mac and V is pretty close and just a misguided. We've talked about misguided movies, but this is probably the most misguided, worst Hollywood movie.
Yeah, and because of that, I'm going to go to Wendy's.
Yeah, I got some Burger King DoorDash coming in. You know how much extra that costs? I'm giving Burger King a little bit more money.
As you should.
Mm-hmm,
Maybe they'll make their own movie. Wait, did E.T., what fast food did E.T. love going to?
They didn't go to fast food, unfortunately. But here's the thing. I did want to get into this. I know we're extending a little bit, but there is product placement in E.T., and the difference is it's more childlike. Literally, E.T. and Elliot's like, oh, look at my Pez dispenser. Oh, this is a Coke can. It's a kid showing off his things. And this, it's literally Coke as a life source. McDonald's gets a whole scene. It's just like there's a difference in like easygoing product placement and just banging you over the head with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's about it, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think that wraps it up for Mac and Me.
We could be sitting here for an hour just talking about Mac and Me because I
think so. Yeah.
I still feel like we barely have scratched the surface of what it's in this movie, but yeah. It still is just like one of those movies that I'll always be thinking of, and I don't think we'll ever be done talking about it.
No, I don't think so. I think this is a movie. We have some movies we always bring up on the show. This one's going to continue to show up on the show. I can tell you that. And after this, I'm going to be like, oh, I forgot that. So
I'm already thinking of stuff, but it's gone on too long. So we'll shut the book on Mac and Me. Maybe we'll have to do a Redux episode or something like that. Who knows? But
yeah.
For now, we will shut that book, Nathan. And what are we going to be covering on Tuesday?
All right. So on Tuesday, please forgive me for butchering this name, but we're going back into the anime well. We're doing another anime. We're doing Urotsudoji, Legend of the Overfiend. You can catch that with the English dub over on archive.org.
Absolutely. Can't wait. Always love that good anime. So, but if you would like to talk to us, offer us suggestions, send us an email over at driveindoublefeaturepodcast@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at DIDFpod, where we upload our schedules right there. Also, again, thank you for subscribing to Patreon. Head on over there if you'd like to drop a donation. But until next time.
Until next time.